This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast for this Monday Night Raw review. It's Tuesday, October 31st, 2023, and let's start off with something a little different. Somebody that I actually forgot to do the mailbag for last week, and we'll get that out of the way, and then we'll dive into Monday in the Bank, Monday Night Raw review, which, of course, took place last night, and we're only a few days away from the Crown Jewel event, which is Saturday, and if you're on the East Coast, it's at 1 o'clock, which is bizarre, isn't it? I know I'm not going to have time to watch it during the actual airtime, so any of my reactions are going to be a bit delayed. But let's dive into the email, and this is from Frank, and Frank, who's a patron, says, "Let me talk to you. I'm going to keep this short. What are your thoughts on the latest news about Sting retiring? I think they should do a Survivor Series for Survivor Series is have a gladiator match where all the titles on the line against all number one contenders in one night, 2 rings, one for the men, one for the women. They wrestle at the same time. Thanks for the podcast. Until next time." Yeah. Well, thanks, Frank. And my thoughts on Sting? It's probably a little bit late. Probably something he should have done a while ago. And I respect his career. I think he's had one of the most memorable careers, particularly in WCW. Of course, during the most impactful part of his career, which was WCW, descending from the rafters, facing Hogan, that kind of thing. And in WWE, most famous for 2 things: Seth Rollins breaking his neck and losing to Triple H at WrestleMania, which to this day still makes no sense to me. But as far as your idea for Survivor Series, having gladiator matches where all titles are on the line, I don't hate that. I will say it's a better idea than Raw versus SmackDown. Certainly that, or War Games. I have no interest in War Games at all, but I think they'll bring it back this year. So, thanks, Frank. All right, so let's talk about Monday Night Raw. And this was a show, which, by the way, you notice they didn't really mention the name of the city nearly as much as they normally do, or when they're in a bigger city and they're more proud of where they are. So Greenville, sorry, but you guys just don't make the cut to WWE. They basically hide the name of the city that they're in when they're not proud of it. I mean, that's just the way it is. Sorry, but we got this was from Greenville at the Wellness Arena. And the Raw opened with, well, first of all, before I get into the details, this felt like a Triple H show because it showcased a lot of new talent, and it had a lot of the one thing Vince didn't seem to like to do, wrestle. It had a lot of wrestling in the show. Who knew that a show could be really good when it has a lot of wrestling in a wrestling show? That's exactly what we got here. And I enjoyed Monday Night Raw by and large because there was so much just great in-ring competition, specifically and notably the Creed brothers, who debuted on Raw. Now, they're not new to WWE, but they're new if you haven't seen them on NXT before. And they faced off against Alpha Academy in, just a brilliant match. One that had 3 out of the 4 guys, with 2 or 3 out of the 4 guys were actual amateur wrestlers. 2 that had Olympic backgrounds. It's just, I'm sorry. 1 had an undefeated college record. Obviously, Chad Gable's an Olympian. So, credentialed amateur wrestlers. Brilliant wrestling. We'll get to that match in just a few minutes. But the Raw, this Monday Night Raw opened with, of course, the typical introduction of someone introducing us to Monday Night Raw. I'm not even going to go there. But it was Rhea, Dom, JD who came out, and Michael Cole and Wade Barrett were on commentary. I got to say, I really enjoy Michael Cole. Maybe it's just becoming more apparent that as Michael Cole gets older, when he's not the announcer on the show, it feels like the show is not, I don't know, it doesn't feel, Michael Cole's got it now at this point in his career. I love the way that he does his homework on wrestlers. He doesn't insult your intelligence. He actually makes you feel a part of the action. And he steers the ship so well. I mean, no disrespect to Corey Graves or to Kevin Patrick, but Michael Cole, I mean, he's one of those unsung heroes. So, all right. So Rhea came out and said that this is the show that the Judgment Day run, and Rhea recalled Damien Priest taking out Cody last week, and said Dom would do the same when he faces Ricochet. Ripley said McDonough would remind Seth what it's like to be an enemy of the faction. And Rhea said that Rollins and Drew have decisions to make. And she played up the idea that it's going to be somebody who chooses the Judgment Day that will walk out of Crown Jewel as the World Heavyweight Champion. Then we got Sami Zayn. And the crowd sang his song. And Zayn told Ripley that he wasn't invited, but he's sick of hearing Ripley talk about how Judgment Day has power, the championships, and they run Raw, and said that people think if you have power, you can rule with iron fist. He said that if that's the name of her game, that's fine, but his name isn't Sami Zayn. It's rebellion. And he would fight the group as long as he had a breath in his body until the Judgment Day is no more. What I would have liked Sami to do here, and this was a fine promo, but what I'd really liked him to do is say, use the Judgment, or rather use the Bloodline as a trophy. Meaning, look what happened to the Bloodline when I took them down. You guys are next. Just a thought. Now, the Bloodline hasn't totally disintegrated, but it was mortally wounded after Sami Zayn took down Roman, nearly won his championship. There was dissension, obviously, with Jimmy and Jay, and both of them left, and then Jimmy came back, but he could at least use the Judgment Day as an example of factions that he's taken down on his own. It's just a thought. So Rhea Ripley then laughed at Zayn and said he could resist all he wants, that they don't need numbers when it comes to him. And then Ripley suggested that Zayn go one-on-one with Damien Priest. And Ricochet came out and stood by Zayn's side. And McDonough charged Ricochet, who ducked and caused McDonough to fly over the ropes. And then we got Dom versus Ricochet. And the match was good. After the match, we got, Ricochet did end up losing here because Dom rolled up Ricochet through the ropes and used the ropes while Ricochet's tights and got the 3 count. Now, how the referee didn't see any of this, it's kind of puzzling. It looked like he was looking right at it, and he just counted the 3, but it's pro wrestling. So Dom did beat Ricochet here in about 11 minutes. And after the match, Ricochet super kicked McDonough, and then he put Dom down with a recoil, and Ricochet went up again, but Ripley saved Dom. So we then got a lot of packages throughout the show of the women speaking about their championship match at Crown Jewel, which I'm a fan of. Okay? I didn't think they would do this. I'm glad each woman got a voice to tell us what they think and what this means to them to challenge for the women's world championship. It was nice to hear Raquel. It was nice to hear Zoe Stark. Nice to hear Nia Jax. It was nice to hear all the women. And we did hear a little bit from Rhea, but it made me feel like they're trying to make a case for each woman to win. And I loved it because I wasn't expecting that. All right. Then we get to the match of the night. One that I really didn't think I would get so invested in. And that's a tribute to, a testament to all 4 of these men. And that is, as I open the show talking about, Julius Creed and Brutus Creed, who was with Ivy Nile, took on Chad Gable and Otis, Maxine Dupree and Akira Tozawa at ringside. Really nice match here. It went 10 minutes, just under 11. It could have gone 20. And they were the definition of maximizing their minutes. They did everything they could to make a name for themselves. Chad and Otis really helped Julius and Brutus get over. Both of them, if you haven't seen them work before, are absolute just machines in the ring. I think Julius or Brutus, he said he was inspired by Kurt Angle. The face-offs against Otis were fun. Otis no selling when he needed to makes sense too. And Julius and Brutus Creed, the Creed brothers, beating Gable and Otis in 11 minutes. They needed to beat Gable and Otis. Now, has Chad Gable fallen back into the Alpha Academy losing streak where he just loses on a weekly basis again? I hope not, but at least they are helping establish new talent. It doesn't hurt the Alpha Academy in any way. It just feels like for Chad Gable specifically, he was in Intercontinental Championship matches, nearly beat Gunther several times, was about to go for a 4th, and they ex-nayed that. But these 2 teams in a long-form feud, a long-standing feud, they want to go a couple of months with these 2 teams? Bring it on, man. And they're helping 2 babyface teams get more over, specifically the Creed brothers, to eventually challenge the Judgment Day for the tag titles. This was really nice. I mean, the stalling suplexes, just the fluidity that they moved around the ring, it was all just well done. I think that everyone involved should be commended for this. So, all right. We then got highlights of Damien Priest slamming a chair on Cody's ankle last week, which comes back to really, it becomes laughable at the end of the show. And you know where I'm going with that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But we did get Ripley and Priest saying that Priest is the punishment of the Judgment Day, that Rhea's not the leader. That was all a backstage segment. And then Priest said that they should make it about Judgment Day tonight and not about him. So Rhea continues to be the leader, but anytime anyone labels her as such, she denies it. So she's kind of playing both sides of the coin here. And she does feel like the leader of the Judgment Day. Let's be honest. All right. Then we're getting a segment here that I really don't know what's happening, and I feel a little bit torn about it, but I'll still roll with it. And that is the Miz here. We got Miz in the ring. He's doing his 481st Miz TV, which, I mean, I don't know how many more Miz TVs I can suffer through. Can we please get rid of the Miz TV format? Can he just come out and cut a promo without having it be a talk show? Babyface or heel, I don't care. This show is just, it shouldn't be a thing anymore. And I love how Gunther tore this apart, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the Miz was supposed to be interviewing Gunther. Gunther didn't come out. We got Ludwig and Vinci, who threw some insults and said that Miz is everything that's what's wrong with the WWE universe today, and called him the embodiment of what Imperium despises, and that Kaiser said the Miz is nothing but a clown. And I really love this because that's exactly right. Miz is the embodiment of that, and that's why, I mean, I'm going to pause on the Miz. Let's keep going. Miz said he's been called a lot of things, but he's never been another man's sidekick. And, well, other than Damien Mizdow and Alex Riley. Yeah, sure. Although Alex Riley was the Miz's sidekick, I actually was trying to figure a way to debunk that. If The Miz truly has been someone else's sidekick, I bet you there's examples. Damien Sandow was not really, although he was a breakout star briefly, and then Alex Riley was like a flash in the pan. Anyway, Miz pointed at Vinci and said that that must make him the third wheel. And then Vinci asked if Miz was his wife's sidekick on Total Divas, and Miz said he talks, and congratulated Vinci for speaking and doing so with such a deep voice. And Miz pointed out that his show is called Miz and Mrs. and said Vinci wished he could be yelled at by someone as hot as his wife. Instead of being yelled at by Kaiser, Miz asked Kaiser if he was really letting Vinci speak, and Vinci said he speaks when he wants to speak. Kaiser told Vinci that he only speaks when he or Gunther say it's okay, and that's when Gunther came out in a suit. That dude looks so sharp in a suit, I gotta say. Gunther said The Miz, he wasn't Miz's guest. He mocked The Miz for running a talk show in 2023, which is totally true. And Gunther added that the ring is sacred to him and that everything Miz does is beneath him. And Gunther said The Miz is beneath him and he doesn't respect him. I love this. This is why Gunther, it's kind of, it's really kind of fascinating that he's a heel, given that his whole character, his entire character, is built on the foundation of respect. Respect for this business. Respect for the championships. Respect for the ring. Respect for just the entirety of sports entertainment. I love it. And this to me was just, I couldn't have said anything better than Gunther, other than to say, aren't you the guy that lost to a washed up rapper at WrestleMania? I mean, how has no one brought up the fact that he was outshined by a guy that, of course, I'm talking about Snoop Dogg, and you could probably point to a whole bunch of other examples in which The Miz has been completely embarrassed by celebrities. And I don't know why no one's bringing that up, but I love this. And The Miz ended up getting attacked and beat down by all three men. And it's doing something interesting here. Now, we've been hearing that WWE is trying to turn The Miz, or thinking about turning The Miz babyface. He's, and because he said Miz said he can be serious. And he said he was serious when he beat Randy to win his first championship. He was serious when he beat John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania, when he won his second world championship. And, I get it. Miz was a more likable guy on Monday night. He was. But that still, to me, doesn't mean I'm going to get invested in The Miz's character. I don't feel it. To me, The Miz he's locked into what he is. At this point, you can turn him back to babyface. You can turn him heel again, which he will eventually. It's not going to matter. The Miz is who he is at this point. We know how WWE views him, which is a guy that can talk and talk well, a guy that you can plug and play pretty much anywhere, a guy that will never be the guy ever, a guy that you could turn babyface or heel. He's the jack of all trades. He's a valuable piece of the puzzle. There is, and I'm not going to deny that. He is. But he's a stepping stone. He is no longer a focal point. He is a stepping stone. There's no other way to put it. And if anybody out there thinks The Miz is going to be the one to take down Gunther, are you kidding? What would The Miz gain from that? Exactly. I have no problem with the match itself. It is a new matchup. There is history, of course, with The Miz and the IC title, of which, to The Miz's credit, he did reinvigorate the IC title. He did. Gunther, however, has taken it to a whole nother level. So, there is that, and I can't take that away from The Miz. But I don't know. I'm not against the heel turn. I just kind of feel like, okay, fine. Make him babyface, whatever. I just don't think The Miz should be or will be the guy to take the belt off of Gunther. Now, are they going to have a match at Crown Jewel? No. It'll probably be on a Monday Night Raw in the interim or at Survivor Series. You could do it at Survivor Series for the IC title. So, I mean, they're doing a nice job of trying to create sympathy for The Miz, though. You had the numbers game against him. You had the foreigners against him, right? Anytime you bring in foreigners, and it creates some, that kind of just immediate, usually that kind of immediate resistance. If you're from a different country, you somehow feel patriotic suddenly to your country and not to the foreigners. It's a tried and true formula. And I see what they're doing, and it's an effective strategy. I just don't think it's going to be a very long-standing, effective one. I could be wrong, but The Miz will never be the guy, ever. We already know who and what he is. We know his skills. We know his highs. We know his lows. We know his weaknesses and strengths. And they're just kind of slotting him into a new role. And that's all. I mean, I'll watch, but I'm not invested particularly. All right. Let's see. So Gunther did, or rather Pierce did offer Miz an opportunity to earn an IC title match. So that's nice. And it looks like he's going to face off against Bronson Reed at some point. All right. DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa then took on Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. This match was also just under 11 minutes, in which Gargano and Ciampa DIY beat them. And this was it was a nice match. It reintroduced those who didn't know what DIY was. Cole was very smart about reminding us that it's been 3 years since this tag team has been together, since 2020. That was a smart point to make. They did hit their meeting in the middle finish, got the 3 count. It was it made sense. This team has just reunited. You're going to have them get the victory here. It's just, also like the Creed brothers. So this was again, that's how you know Triple H seemingly is in charge. If you knew nothing else, this was a wrestling heavy, tag team heavy match, or tag team heavy show with DIY and the Creed brothers getting time in the ring. And Lord knows the tag team divisions, especially for the women, but also the men, need help. In depth, in relevance. So this made total sense. And these two guys, Gargano and Ciampa, they're a true tag team. They're not just two individuals put together. There's history there, and that's always nice to see. All right, let's see here. So we got a Candice Michelle promo airing, and a Candice LeRae, or rather, it was Candice LeRae, not Candice Michelle, but that was according to Cole. And let's see. We got Xylee versus Candice LeRae, which lasted 2 minutes. Xylee taking out Candice LeRae in 2 minutes after ref stoppage. And that knee strike, though, that looked nasty. But obviously it wasn't a true injury, but boy, it was executed really well. And LeRae stood up and stumbled, and it was just a nice way, a different way to end a match. Because you know what? Knee strikes to the head should have that effect. And yet they're transition moves. I mean, in every other match. But I like this. All right. We got a Shayna Baszler package. We got Cole setting up a video package on Drew sitting in the stands of an empty performance center. He spoke about winning the title in an empty venue. It includes showing him as a young, the chosen one, all the way up until, of course, he main evented WrestleMania during the pandemic when no one was there, and that he beat Brock Lesnar with like 4 claymores, I think it was. And he had no one there to celebrate. And then he said he did what he always done, and that's his job. He said he put his body through hell so he could be a champion and that people could be proud of. And he fought and clawed back to get to the position to win again at Clash of the Castle, only for the bloodline to ruin it. And McIntyre said he can make it right at Crown Jewel. And it's just another title defense for Rollins where it's everything for him. McIntyre said Rollins was his first title defense since in 2020, and at Crown Jewel, he will be Rollins' last. So this was great. And it really, to me, didn't signal a heel turn. Now, you could argue that him saying that McIntyre saying that this is everything to him means he'll do anything to win. That's very possible. We've heard that. We've seen that before. We actually saw it when Austin turned heel in 2001, when he told The Rock that I need this, Rock. I need this more than you can ever imagine. Hinting that he's going to do anything he can and everything he can, no matter what it is, to win. And we'll see if Drew takes that approach as well. But this was a very, very effective, well-executed promo because it gave you a nice insight into the mindset of Drew going into this, which looked a lot more babyface. And maybe they've done that purposely also to get the fans off of that heel turn scent that they've been on with Drew, that he's teased over the last several weeks and months now. And maybe they've changed course. Maybe they truly have changed course. But it does seem that was generally a babyface promo. And if you want to dig for heel little like breadcrumbs, they were there. So, all right, let's see. We then got, where are we? Rollins in the ring, and he said he's been a fan of McIntyre, so he would be respectful in response to the video and saying, "Boo freaking who? Cry me a river, you big Scottish baby." He said everyone fights their battles in some way, and Rollins said they were people who didn't know when they'd get their next paycheck or a batch of groceries, and some didn't know when they'd see their loved ones again, and some never got to. So excuse me for not feeling sorry for you that you didn't get to win the championship the way you dreamt it. Rollins brought up McIntyre blaming the bloodline. He said, "Cry me a river, get in line." Rollins told McIntyre to get in line with guys like Sami and Cody. Rollins said that while he doesn't like Cody, he doesn't hear them talking or asking for any pity. And Rollins did say that McIntyre was a hell of a champion. He also said that he'll be the first man to shake his hand and call him champ if he was able to pry it from his waist. But Rollins said he's not the same guy he was back then. He's not the Messiah or the Architect. Really nice promo here from Seth. I thought this shot back at Drew pretty well. Bringing up his past personas was it's uncalled or unheard of for Rollins to admit himself, but it was effective. He didn't go all wacky and cackling and off the rails. It was very serious, which that's my favorite version of Seth, is when he's not cackling and making a joke of everything and strutting around in ridiculous clothing. That, to me, this was a much more enjoyable Seth Rollins. And there was a lot of fair points. This match with Drew, you knew that from a physical standpoint, this was going to be a lot of fun. But I think even the most ambitious of fans should be pleasantly surprised at how well the verbal part, the mental part, the emotional part of this program is going thus far. And I don't know if this is a one-off at Crown Jewel. I don't know if their plan is to have Drew win. Of course, you have Damien Priest lurking out there that he could cash in at any moment. And you have the Judgment Day who's trying to recruit both. That's a lot of fun. There's a lot floating around this match. This match could, it has the potential to, but it probably won't because Roman Reigns is on the card, main event the show. Now, LA Knight is on the rise. You want to put him in that spot. I get it. But there's an argument to be made to put Seth and Drew in the main event of Crown Jewel. And just so much surrounding this match. I'm excited for it. I can't wait. All right. JD McDonough came in and attacked Rollins from behind. And that's when we got the match here, the non-title match between JD and Seth. 14 minutes. Non-title match. A lot of fun. The narrative was that Seth couldn't hit the pedigree on JD. JD kept reversing it. I think it was about the 5th time that Rollins hit the pedigree and then the stomp for the victory. But this match did more than having Seth won. It's more about than just a Seth victory. It's about JD McDonough, who continues to show you how good he is in the ring. He's really good. So sure, JD lost, and he should have. But it was a competitive, fun match that gave McDonough some nice near falls and allowed him to an opportunity with an extended period of time in 14 minutes to show the people watching what he can do. And Rollins did a great job selling when he needed to. This was they had really nice chemistry. And I enjoyed the hell out of this. Now, after the match, Rollins went to ringside. He confronted Priest. And Rollins told him to make a move. And Priest told him that it's inevitable. And Rollins told Priest not to waste the contract on him. And Cole then played up potentially having Priest cash in at Crown Jewel. And Ricochet was backstage. After that, he complained to Adam Pearce about the interference in the opening match. And Pearce said Ricochet made a hell of a showing and offered him a chance to earn a title shot at the IC Championship. Ricochet said it sounded good, but he had a bone to pick with Dominic and then made his exit. Let's see. We got... Let's see. Becky Lynch was interviewed by Jackie Redmond backstage. Lynch wasn't happy about losing the NXT Women's Championship, but said if she had to lose, then she's happy it was just someone hungry like Lyra Valkyria. My God, I can't pronounce it. Lyra. That's how you know I don't watch NXT. That's all you need to know. And put her over as someone who, quote, eats, sleeps, and drinks this. She said that she defended her title for more during her 42-day reign than Rhea and Roman Reigns had defended their titles all year. Lynch said she doesn't need the title and the title needs her. Xia Li showed up and accused Becky Lynch of ducking her. Lynch said they could fight on the spot, and Lee said they would fight, but it would be on her time. All right, so Xia Li and Lynch. When are we going to get to Rhea and Becky? How much longer are they going to avoid this? I mean, they can't do it much longer. All right. We then got Natalya versus Chelsea Green in a trick or street fight. I mean, this is awful. It's Chelsea Green did beat Natalya, which almost never happens. But that's it. I mean, I don't need to see candy corn. I don't need to see people power bombing each other onto candy corn. This was a wrestling match, but I say that loosely. There was a whole pie in the face. Or at least tried to. This is just the worst of wrestling. Just the worst. I hate this crap. For two women like Chelsea Green and Natalya, who could have a nice match, this kind of crap detracts from it. But you guys already knew I was going to say that. Damien Priest and Sami Zayn. This was the main event of the show. And this was about a 10-minute main event. It ended with Damien Priest beating Sami by DQ in 10 minutes because Jey Uso ran out and took out Dom and Balor, entered the ring, and super kicked Priest for the DQ finish. Unexpected. Now, is this going to cause any tension between Jey and Sami? I hope not. They didn't seem to be what they were pushing. I hope it doesn't. But this did end with JD getting the crossroads a couple of times on the announce table that didn't break. And Cody grabbed, by the way, Cody came out because we had a bit of the babyface is outnumbered. And of course, Cody Rhodes has to be the one to come and save everybody. even on the bad ankle that, by the way, was he barely limped to the ring. He couldn't walk on it last week. He performed all his moves just perfectly, putting all his weight on the ankle, and then after the segment's over, tries to sell it. That's not how you sell an ankle. Selling is a lost art, my friends. But Cody grabbed the mic from ringside after this was all done and said that Zayn came up behind Cody and knocked the mic out of his hand. He said, while informing him that the crowd was chanting one more time, Cody performed another crossroads on the table and said that Priest tried to take him out last week and was unsuccessful. He said his story is he gets knocked down and gets back up. Okay, Cody, let me tell you something. If that's the story you've been trying to tell this whole time, that is lame AF. That is the story of literally everyone on the roster. Everyone, every week, gets beat down and they get back up. All the time, everywhere. And I know it's a babyface thing to say, I never quit. It's just like a bootleg John Cena. Never give up. That's all this is. I don't know how far he wants to take that line. It's a lame AF line. But the big thing from this was Cody saying that he is back on his path and it goes straight through Priest at Crown Jewel. I think saying that I'm back on the path to Roman Reigns without saying it is what he meant. So that kind of tells you it's nearly a 0% chance that LA Knight wins, if not an actual 0% chance that LA Knight wins. Sorry to say, guys, but I'll get to my official preview and prediction show Friday morning, I believe, is when I'll drop it. So, fine. It was a nice promo from Cody, and it did kind of tell the fans that he's back on track to the title, if you didn't already read between the lines. It was a nice go-home show. A lot of wrestling focused on tag teams, focused on debuts, or rather, elevations of tag teams to the Monday Night Raw roster. It was just a nice way to go to Crown Jewel. For go-home shows that have been lame in the past, this one was pretty good. And especially for Rollins and Drew. I can't wait for that. That one by far is going to be my match that I'm looking forward to the most, even more than LA Knight and Roman, simply because of the fact that LA Knight, as I said, is not going to win that match. I mean, he just isn't. Unfortunately, as LA Knight would say, that's just a fact of life. So overall, guys, I enjoyed Raw, and you guys can also enjoy this show ad-free if you head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. You can get yourself an ad-free experience. We also just dropped part 3 of the Halloween special for WrestleMagic, where we had Rocky T and Michael Gross and, of course, Justin Credible on the show. That you're not going to want to miss. That's only available to those of you on Patreon and the Apple Podcast subscription feed. So you can head on over to Apple Podcasts and hit that subscribe button. Go ad-free there. Go ad-free on Patreon. There's a week trial there. No matter what tier you choose, it's a week free trial. So you're not going to want to miss out on that. And also, you can head on over to our website at wwepodcast.com because there's an ad-free experience there and our merch. So don't forget to check us out there. And I do want to give a shout out to our latest patron, Jake S. I don't want to give your last name unless you're cool with it. So Jake and Arturo, there we go. Jake and Arturo, thank you so much, guys, for being a part of the WWE podcast. Hope you guys enjoy everything ad-free. I know that we put out as much content as we can, and we'll have a lot of exclusive shows, including the latest show from Anthony DeMarco. That is the After Dark show, if you're interested in such things. And you're not going to want to miss that. That's exclusive for those on the SmackDown tier and above. So, all right. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow with your full mailbag. So don't forget to send in your questions and your voicemails. The voicemail number is in the notes, the show notes of every single Wednesday mailbag. Check that out if you want to leave a voicemail. Or you can email us at mailbag@wwepodcast.com. WWE.com. That'll do it for me tonight, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.